I had all these action figures, and I would take like sticky tack or whatever, and I would put dicks on my action figures.
For me, because that's the thing that always makes me laugh at the gym. You can't tell me that you haven't glanced only to see how you measure up. You're not interested in it. No. You're not attracted to it. You don't want anything to do with it.
When I heard about the Drake video, dude, I was...
Dude, that's it. Because you sit there and you're like...
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Maximum Zack. Today, we have Nick Pagliochini. He is a radio host. He's on a bunch of shows, and he has his own podcast. And today, we talked about how to become a better interviewer. It was great having Nick on the pod. I really want to become, the most maximum version of myself. And I think becoming a better interviewer is just going to make for a way better podcast for everyone. I just got back from the tour. I was doing stand-up. And while I was there, I didn't eat horribly, but it wasn't as perfect as being able to just eat meal preps, But I'm happy to be back. I'm using this program called Found. And Found has been helping me. I was able to talk to a nutritionist. They have all this stuff in their app that helps you learn about, what you should be eating and mindful eating. So I've been taking a lot of that with me just sort of everywhere I've been going though. And it's the palm of your hand is how much protein you should be eating. And pretty much you're supposed to be eating a lot of greens, and I wasn't doing that before. And then it's just been really good. I definitely feel like I've been making a lot of good changes in my life because of Found. And, and it's all changes. Some of them, it's I don't even realize that I'm doing it all the time, which is cool. I guess it's really just about making changes that will last, not just for right now. It's for forever. And also Found it's been helping me stay accountable for making sure that I'm getting into movement and Found has also been helping me stay accountable with getting into movement and going to the gym, making sure I'm logging all that stuff, so I can see the progress that I'm making and see how many times I've been doing all these different things. Thanks, Found. I'm really loving it, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Flash warning, baby. Let's eat this dude. We gotta stop with this raid. So let's get into this podcast with Nick Pagliochini and learn how to be a better host. Welcome to Maximum Zack.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it.
How's it going?
Pretty good. I can't complain. The weather's been kind of not the best here in Southern California, but I mean, you're the one that's been traveling a lot lately, so you probably even have better stories about what's going down elsewhere around the country. Yeah,
it's the weather's been better in other places, colder.
Sure.
Not as rainy.
But we're big dudes. So that's a bigger question I have. When you're in those colder climates, how do you feel? Are you somebody that needs to layer up? Are you?
I'm not. I wear just a hoodie, maximum, usually all the time.
Maximum Zack.
Yeah,
I love it. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I made the mistake of going to Tulsa without a coat or a hoodie, and it was pretty cold. I mean, I grew up in Indiana, so it could get really cold there. But I'm not. I'm adjusted to California cold now. So when it's even moderately cold, somewhere else, I'm dude, this sucks.
I think that's a great question, though, for me anyway, to get to know you a little bit better, and then we can hop into whatever. But give me your background. We're at a point where if you're stumbling upon this podcast kind of like I did, give me the lowdown on you. Where did you start from? Because we all know why you're Maximum Zack, and we have a general idea of why. But take me back to even when you were we were talking a little bit before the show and off air about some stuff. So give me kind of you growing up. What was that like?
So I grew up in Northwest Indiana, really close to Gary, Indiana, which is close to Chicago.
Sure.
And that part of Indiana is not necessarily as middle of nowhere Indiana. It's not as
Are we talking the burbs? Are we talking metro? What's the...
Technically on Craigslist, if you look up that area,
I love that you're talking about Craigslist, which doesn't even exist, but anymore.
It's under a subcategory of Chicago.
Okay.
Technically, it shows up Northwest Indiana, will show up there instead of with the rest of Indiana, which is weird.
That is weird, but I mean, I think...
And you get all Chicago news sources. You don't even hear about the rest of Indiana. The rest of Indiana doesn't want to hear about you. That's how it is.
See, but having now kind of become a transplant here to Southern California, it's the same because if you're from the Inland Empire and if you know Riverside and San Bernardino County, that's not LA. But people are oh, I watched the OC. I watched, oh, so-and-so is from Chino Hills. Ooh. And I'm like, come on, y'all been there? That's bougie AF. It's white as white can be. No, it's fine. Yeah. So, but with that, what did you, when you were starting out, what was kind of your drive and your passion, like, as a kid? Because, obviously you ended up doing Jackass.
Yeah.
That's a long progress. Like,
yeah. So it started off, I got a video camera when I was 10.
Okay.
And then I started making videos with my friends and editing them and stuff. I learned how to, like, edit videos really young. So I did that. And it started off with just making little short films, but we would always end up just doing stupid shit.
Which is...
It's
like
always
we talked
how it
about.
ended. Yeah.
That's the thing, and especially now in 2024... that's where you connect. And that was how many years ago? But,
that was like, it
was a long time.
It was like a long time ago.
But I'm just saying, like, that is where the connection point is. Because you saw something, you went with it, and you were passionate about it. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing to push through because you got imposter syndrome and everything else, even at that age. So with those little shorts that you did, tell me, like, because the funniest thing is we were talking about Wolverine and action figures because, obviously when we were growing up, that was that era. Yeah. I don't know. You had Target. Because I was going to say, I remember lining up, like, to get those action figures when they released at Target. So
we definitely had Target, but that area, Target was almost considered more bougie, and we were more of a Walmart,
it's still bougie.
Walmart, Kmart person, like family, like that's how it was.
Yeah, but blue light special is not a bad thing.
Yeah,
like, I feel you, totally feel you. Granted, if you know, and we're gentlemen of a certain age, but going back to the action figures and going back to your short films, what did you do to put that together with your friends or whatever? So, like, the first one I ever did was we made this, like the short about this alien showing up, and we had to, like, kill the alien. We didn't even question if we should, like, talk to it for some reason. We just had to kill this just
thing.
Just like the U.S. government.
Yeah. That was our first, like option. We're just like, we should kill this thing. And I even did, like, this, I didn't know how to do, like, the bullet time effect in the Matrix where everything slows down. Okay. So I made my own version of it where I just put, like, this battery on a string and, like, we just had it move along. It was really shitty.
But no.
But yeah, that's, like, what we did.
That's great, though.
Yeah, then I put in all these, like, explosion effects and stuff. And, like...
Okay, but see, just even at that young age and the genius behind the camera, what took you in front of the camera? What gave you that drive and pushed you to get in front of the camera?
So, like, I think it was, like, so when we'd film, when my friends and I would film stupid stuff together, because eventually it just turned into, like, oh, we're making just these, like, Jackass, like, inspired videos. Sure. And my friends would mainly be, like, the subjects of these videos, and I was always behind the camera, but then sometimes... like, I would do some stuff, and then it became, like, I noticed that people reacted to that, like, a lot more sometimes. Okay. So I started doing more stuff, and, like, the first thing that I really got into doing was, like, I was getting hit in the nuts with, like, different things.
Okay, but isn't that just the hallmark of Jackass, period?
Yeah.
And it's 100%, like... I think one of the few episodes that I did catch, it's like, yes, you do want to sire children at some point in time. Yeah. Like, and God knows what, brother... I'm just going to say, I like this so much. I care about this so much. I enjoy playing with this myself so much and having it accessible to others. So, like, that's just nuts.
I should have thought about that before, But I don't have any, like, problems that I know of, really. Except one time I did one of those at-home, like, sperm count, like, tests, and it said it was low.
But the question is, does that mean, like, low, like you look at the like the oil lamp or the gas lamp in the car and it's like on E, or does that mean...
I don't know. There's like a different version where it actually sends it to a lab, but I didn't pay for that one. So I just... It was literally like a COVID test, but instead of putting it in your mouth, you just cum in it.
Oh, the best part. Okay, wait. So it's like, how do we go from swabbing your mouth? Yeah. I guess you do spit. You spit the COVID test. So I get it. So if we need a sponsorship... Yeah. We got the guy here for you. He might be one of those, that low T count kind of guy.
One of the reasons I wanted you on the show was to try and help me become a better interviewer. Okay. What qualities do you think make a good interviewer?
It's a great question. And I think what, for me, has always been interesting in that regard is there's many times where I'm sent on an assignment that I could care less about why I'm sent there. So making a good interview and being a good interviewer is, number one, establishing a rapport and relationship with your interviewee, your subject. So making sure that you are connecting with them. And a lot of times, just like here, when we're meeting for the first time, I don't know much about you. I can only see what's been curated about you on social media and what you have existing out there.
Yeah.
So it's getting in there and giving yourself, my experience, at least 10 minutes with the talent to just bullshit with them, BS with them, and get to know them. Ask just the most, benign questions ever. And the second thing is, when you go into an interview, have a couple of questions in the back of your mind, but a lot of times you'll go to an interview and the subject or the people connected to the subject will be like, hey, can we get a list of interview questions? Yeah. And just inform them, I don't have a list. I want to get to know your talent. I want to get to know, insert, John Smith here. Yeah. And what is really important is building that rapport initially with your talent, but then when we're talking, and I think as this goes on, I'll be able to put it into practice with it, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it back with me, is that you will be able to give me responses. I'll ask you questions, and then I will listen to your responses. And that's what happens for the best interviews I've ever found. You have to listen to what the person's saying rather than staying on topic. Allow a certain amount of meandering. Allow a little bit of ums and uhs, because if somebody is not being able to respond like that, that means you are really connecting with them. You're getting something different and unique out of them. So allow them to speak, and even give yourself a beat or two after they respond to come up with your next question. Because too often you see people who are interviewers that are already thinking about the next, they're not even listening to what's being told to them. And it's more important for us to connect. It's more important for us to connect, because there's nothing more annoying than when I'm in radio, and that's been my background, and morning shows are always like, hey, blah, 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 like, and there's 19 people on the show. And while it's interesting to look into the fishbowl of that morning zoo, it's much more important for you to be a part of that morning zoo. Yeah. And if I'm talking to you, Zach, or John Smith, or whomever, in that fishbowl and asking genuine, engaging questions that people would actually care about, as opposed to, what do you think about the Kardashians? I don't fucking care about the Kardashians. But, how are you doing? We've had shitty weather here in Southern California. How's that been affecting your life? You live up in the valley. You're trying to go into Hollywood, whatever the situation be. So I think those are it, is specifically to don't overplan. Just give yourself that space and being able to connect with whomever your subject is.
Oh, that's really good advice. So speaking of, I just said again.
That's fine. You'll once you go
I'm
into
trying
this
to
thing,
not say
But the thing is, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I still say and and I still have crutches. Yeah. One of my jobs in Los Angeles is a traffic reporter. And I have the same 9 descriptors for adjectives that describe slow traffic. And I use them all the flipping time. And granted, I give myself a bad time, but also realizing I'm on for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter if I'm repeating the same ish over and over again, because I'm getting the point across. So sometimes you will, over time, remove those ums and those uhs, but sometimes they're needed, because it also, again, allows you to connect with people, because everybody else has ums and uhs.
It's true. I feel like our editor would have a different story.
Guys! That's probably, I'm not going to lie. That's a very good point. And I'm doing a lot of my own editing as well. And I think you, through our conversations beforehand, you are also that way. A lot of times, if ever, so let me just pull back the curtain 100% here for radio. Yeah. In the world of radio, because people are so happy, a vast majority of our content is considered live to tape, meaning that we are recording in one go and it will air 10 minutes from now, because we are making sure that we're not saying anything wrong. Yeah. When I do that, I leave in all of my flubs, always, because you will sound human in 10 minutes. when that comes back around.
Yeah.
That also doesn't mean you need to remove every single and in an edit, because it makes you sound normal. It makes you sound relatable. It makes you sound human. And if you're perfect, then you might as well be ChatGPT or AI at that point. So
yeah. How do you get your interviewees to open up and answer your questions?
That's probably one of the hardest skills to develop. And the shortest answer possible I can give you is you have to be there with them. Mm-hmm. So by you being honest and vulnerable, it's really easy, and hopefully I don't do too bad as this continues on, but it's really easy to take things over.
Yeah.
It's really easy to move into a space of steering a little too hard. Mm-hmm. But also, when you are doing an interview, you want to give just enough of yourself to make the person feel heard. Again, this goes back to asking those questions that they responded with, as opposed to going through your list of questions. It's because for us talking, and I think as this continues on, you'll see how that plays out. You're going to feel really comfortable with me at one point because I'm listening to what you're saying. I want to know about who you are. I want to know not just Maximum Zach, but I want to know Zach. I want to know Zach as a kid. I want to know Zach, how you came to where you are now. I want to see where Zach is going to go for the future, and why should I care about Zach? Mm-hmm. And when you, even if it's not in so many words, when you feel that as the interviewee, you're going to give me a lot better things. You're going to remember things, as I'm asking questions and prompting you and having a conversation rather than an interview. Mm-hmm. You're going to remember stories from your childhood. You're going to remember stories that no one has heard before, or maybe you've only shared. And I think that's so much in media is I gotcha. Mm-hmm. So much is leading toward, these are my 9 questions that I want to get in with you. Mm-hmm. And through time constraints, sometimes that's what you need. And sometimes it's very specific talking points. But when you have that interview time, when you want to go Oprah style, when you want to be able to sit down and have a connection with someone, it's going out there and giving them your vulnerability and your openness and transparency to say, I've been in that situation. I have been there. And that allows the interviewee to relax and be able to give a better story.
Well, it makes a lot of sense.
Cool. So then take me to where you are now. You've gone well beyond Jackass Forever. You've gone into this realm of podcasting and vodcasting, and then you're doing, a comedy tour, stuff like that. I'm just podcasting, doing a lot of stand-up, really trying to pivot into more comedy stuff. I mean, Jackass is comedy, sure, but like less like that's slapstick comedy.
Yeah, like less like physical comedy and more just like stand up and like acting and stuff like that. What
are some of your inspirations? Because trying to get that tight 20 together for you to be up there and having so many friends here in the industry in LA, what is that like for you? Because you have a different backstory. Everybody's got their own backstory. Yeah. But when you're putting together that notion, because so many people specifically want to be able to connect and they want to be able to maybe do something like this. And it's not just a monologue. You have to know what you're doing. You have to work through it and the timing. So what has that been like, and kind of where do you pull your stories, your inspiration from?
Usually I'll just like think of like weird things that have happened to me.
Like what? Give us a little tease of what something might be like that.
Okay, so one time, I mean, actually, I don't know if I should tell that one.
That means you should, in my opinion.
One time I got pulled over and I thought I was going to be going to jail. And what ended up happening was this dude, there's like a street in front of us. Okay. And like, this guy runs out, and then another person runs out behind him and shoots him like 3 times. And then the cops.
Where are you?
Where is it? Like in Indiana.
Oh, suddenly, Indiana has more street cred than I ever expected to have.
Gary, Indiana used to be the murder capital of the United States for a little while.
I'm on those Netflix specials about that.
So that happened, and then all the police attention was taken. It was like, we gotta focus on this. not these two guys that are just driving home.
Okay.
And then that sort of I was just like, thank God, for first degree murder.
Because we all think thank God for street murder.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like silly, like things like that. And there's like that's like some story stuff. And then I don't know, just sort of just anything that's like poking fun at me or like just my upbringing. I grew up in like a super religious household and stuff like that.
What's the background? Evangelical, Catholic, what?
It wasn't Catholic, or it was just like non-denominational, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
My uncle's a pastor.
Got it.
So it's like really close to home.
Got it. So then that is something, because self-deprecating humor is always the easiest because you go with what you know. Mm-hmm. But with this, you're from Middle America, like that's almost controversial because here on the West Coast or even on the East Coast, it's kind of chill and mellow, and we work through trauma through humor. Yeah. But how does that work with your family then? If you're going to use that as topographical matter.
I use some of that, but they've never like went to any of my shows.
Okay. Mom, dad, aunt, uncle, you got to go check this guy out. It's 100% worth it. You have led to the best opportunity for this humor, and for you to go and support is exactly what needs to happen. It is 2024. We are rolling with it that way. But it's enough for me. Yeah. I have totally taken over Maximum Zach and made it like, mediocre Nick. But talk to me. What do you want to know?
Yeah. So, like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up here in Southern California, born and raised, the Inland Empire. I was born in the IE, so I'm definitely that kid. Mm-hmm. My joke always has been, you can tell that you're from the IE if you live within a block of a drug dealer, a liquor store, and a meth lab. Nice. And that's 100% my existence on this planet when I started out, because I grew up in the 80s, and that was a very different world. So if you've seen like Next Friday and Ranch Cucamonga, when everybody moves out there, that was not my life. My life was, I was out in the sticks. My parents got together in 77 or got married in 77, and I came in 81, and they moved out there because it was kind of the Southern California dream, if you will, at that point. And so by moving out there, there was nothing at that point in time, to the point that they were able to get 3/4 of an acre of land, which is kind of unheard of. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially in LA, but
especially
LA, you don't get that. But the Inland Empire was definitely availability for that. But we had Santa Ana winds, which kind of goes along with the weather and the issues that we're having now. We lost 38 trees on our property. To think that you live in Southern California.
How many trees did you have on your property then?
There's 50 or more. But like to think that you even have 3/4 of an acre of land with 38 trees to lose.
Yeah, that's wild.
It feels like I get ding 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 like the banjo for Southern California. But so I did that for 12 years and then moved to San Diego, Poway in North County, which literally going from my description of the Inland Empire to the city and the country, which was Poway's claim to fame. And then moved overseas for a few years with my family. And
where at overseas?
We were in Naples, Italy.
Nice.
My dad worked my entire life in aerospace. And so he started out in the Department of Defense and did a lot of skunk works projects and black ops projects, which are just barely becoming declassified now. Yeah. But then at some point when aerospace kind of dwindled in that regard, he moved into the commercial sector. But we were over there, lived in Naples, Italy, which is kind of cool because I was there for 3 years. It's where my family's from. I'm only second generation born in the U.S. And so it was great because we got to see a family that, granted, I've been back for 20 years now. Yeah. But that I never would have seen. And thank God for social media, we've kept in contact now or reconnected. But it's pretty wild. And then it's been LAOC, IE ever since, with a little bit of San Diego thrown in there.
Nice. That's awesome. And so you host a couple shows right now?
I do. So I've been with iHeartRadio for 17 years now.
Oh, nice.
If you have listened to radio in any format outside of public radio in the last 17 years, I guarantee you've heard my voice somewhere nationwide, be it a commercial or voiceover. Even at one point, I was doing in-flight entertainment. So I was the voice of Delta Airlines, and I was also the voice of Virgin America before it was bought out by Alaska. I was also the voice of Alaska Airlines. So I did a lot of stuff with my voice, which I learned early on. It was kind of been my meal ticket. That's not where my background was. I worked for Disney for a good number of years, but then it kind of snowballed into that. I worked at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim. And at the time in 1998, when I hired on, it was the reopening of Tomorrowland. And also it was Plaza Inn on Main Street, which is Walt's original restaurant, his favorite place to eat. And so I reopened that restaurant. I was with the Walt Disney Company for 5 years, and I opened Disney California Adventure Park, worked with all the operating partners at Downtown Disney. Pretty much I ate, slept, and shat Disney for 5 years, but especially for the expanded resort project and opening a new theme park and opening the Grand Californian Hotel and all that. So it was interesting. It taught me guest service. It taught me hospitality. It taught me how to talk to people. It taught me how to interact with people in a human way, but also, the Disney way is very specific. People know that no matter what the situation is, whether you're here or you've been to an international park or Florida, while the products are different, the personality and the attitude toward it is very specific and very, tight-laced and family-oriented. And trying to figure out how to not lose yourself in that is a real art form. And that's kind of what led to me getting into broadcasting. And my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and when it started to progress, he wasn't doing great with in-home caregivers. And so I actually took off working for a year and moved in with him and my grandma and took care of them. And then he started having more medical issues. So we finally had to move them into a home. But now I had a hole in my resume. And here in 2024, a hole in your resume is not a big deal. And people are used to it. But back then, it was like, all right, what did you do? Were you effing around for, the last year? What happened? Yeah. And sob stories don't really work when you're trying to do a job interview. So it was time, and I was with my ex at that point, and he said, we specifically got a couple of bucks, so if you want to go back to school, do it. And so I went to, I've been a good student, but I don't like education in a formal setting.
Yeah, I mean,
so that's, and I think we get along that way, because we do things in a non-traditional way. But I went to a accredited vocational school in Huntington Beach. And before I even finished the program, I started working in radio with, at the time was Clear Channel, which is now iHeart. So, and I've done news, sports, traffic, weather. Right now, you can hear me here in LA on the L&K Morning Show on Coast 103.5, or you can hear me on the iHeartRadio app every morning, Monday through Friday from 5 to 10. Also, our local talk station is KFI AM 640. I've got Wake Up Call, the Bill Handel Morning Show, and Gary and Shannon are my 3 programs that I work with there.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So it's a hustle. Like, it doesn't matter. You have 500 things and you have many, many more projects that are coming on the side. We're in an era and a time period where it's not just one gig anymore.
No,
it's finding what's going to be the right fit. And it's going to be, how do you progress and what's going to be, the next step, because you want to make sure that you're constantly more so. I think that's what I've learned now that I'm 42. I've really leaned into the fact of figuring out what I want for my future and realizing that, as the joke always is, Social Security is not going to be around probably by the time we're there. So what kind of money can I put away for it now? And not to be a Debbie Downer with the situation, but it's like, no, I got to figure out all these different things because I want it to be sustaining. I want it to continue going, just like Maximum Zach and going through and doing your podcast. So what have you learned now that Jackass is still around? But kind of in the rear view for you. Where are you going outside of what we've already talked about? What are your kind of dreams, aspirations, and hopes? Where do you want to move to? What's up for you?
I want to continue doing stand-up and progressing in that field, but then also probably, like, I don't have any, like, actual training, like, with acting, actual acting. So I want to get into that, take some classes, maybe start some improv stuff too.
Okay.
Just learn as much as I can and keep, because, like, with stand-up, you have to be doing that. Like, you have to do it all the time to, like, get better. So, obviously, like, that, in that regard, like, you have to, like, I need to do that. I need to get some form of training, probably.
It's that, or at least keep doing it.
Yeah, you got to keep doing it, you know? And then, other than that, I mean, I'm writing. I've been writing some stuff. I just shot like a pilot for a ghost hunting show. I'm really getting into paranormal investigation,
which is very cool.
I've been into that stuff for a long time, but now I'm putting it in video form.
Okay, no. But so talk to me more about that, because we kind of touched on it a little bit away from the cameras, away from the mics. But you were starting to tell me about a paranormal investigation. And don't give it all away, because people want to tune in and catch it.
Yeah, I won't give it all away.
But give me a little bit of insight on that.
Okay, so we went to, me and my friend Hex, who's like a musician, we went to the Colorado Street Bridge in Pasadena, which is Suicide Bridge.
Yep, it is. And it's beautiful, but it's scary AF, especially at night.
Yeah. Over 100 people have jumped off the bridge. And it's, it was pretty wild there. We had a lot of crazy experiences. I had some gear with me. Like I had this thing called the Ovulus, which runs on like environmental changes, and you can speak to it or whatever, like whatever is there.
Okay, so you can communicate with.
Yeah, you can communicate. It has like a word
side.
bank system in it. And it just, you can ask like anything, not just like yes or no. And I've gotten a lot of like really interesting readings like from that. Like I was talking to this one thing, like I don't want to call it a thing. That sounds. You
can call it an entity.
Yeah, like an entity.
I always think about like I go back to the Ghostbuster days of Slimer. Yeah. It's like what am I talking to?
I was talking to this one entity, and it said it pretty much was talking about being from England or like the UK.
Oh, okay.
And then there was some stuff that came up about an actor or like Hollywood. And then when I was looking through like the articles about
doing the research, yeah.
I actually wasn't even searching specifically for this. So I was just finding some articles just to put in the edit.
Okay.
Just to quickly show like that things have happened here.
Got it.
And I started reading a little bit more, and it was about this guy from the UK that was an actor, and he jumped off the bridge.
Really?
Yeah. It was
so having had that experience and then going back, did you ever back home in Indiana have experiences or have any things like around that?
So back home in Indiana, there was a couple instances because I used to go. So there's some instances in my house, and then there were some times when I would go out to like we would look up places online that were supposedly haunted in Indiana.
Of course.
There's a lot of places, and like in the surrounding areas, like in Illinois and like stuff like that. Like we went to this abandoned like insane asylum in Illinois it was like Mantino.
Dude, Middle America is epic that way. The buildings and the structures have been
it was just scary in itself,
right?
Like just being there, and then there was this whole other crew of like legit ghost hunters there. They had all this gear, and then out of the middle of nowhere, like we're in different sides of the building, we just hear them screaming. And they start running with all their gear.
Okay.
And they just run out and they get in their cars and drive away. And we're like,
so they didn't even say shit to you guys.
Yeah, they were just like freaking out. And then we were just like, okay, we should like probably leave.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So we ended up leaving that. But so one of like the actual things that happened to me though, like when I was growing up in my house, there was I've told the story a couple times, but I'll tell like a shorter version.
You're fine. We got time.
There was. So when I was taking a shower one day, it felt like someone put their hand in my back.
Okay. So you had your own like psycho experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
It felt like someone put their hand in my back. And I thought that was like, I was just trying to write it off for like the longest time. It happened a couple times.
Okay.
And then my sister, one day, like I heard her scream like from the bathroom.
Okay.
She comes out and I was like, what happened? And she didn't say anything. She wouldn't say anything about it. And then I hear her scream again like a different day. And I was like, what happened?
How old was she?
She was, I mean, I was probably like, I don't know, maybe like 15 or something.
Okay, so teens or tween
so she was
thing.
like, yeah, she was a couple of years younger than me.
Okay.
And she, like, then she comes out and I was just like, what happened? Like, why did you scream? And then she was like, I felt like someone put their hand in my back and it freaked me the fuck out. And then there was that. Another thing that happened, like when I was in my basement a lot, I would always hang out in my basement and like watch like TV down there, and it sounded like there was like someone walking up and down the stairs,
sure,
like, which was really weird. But before all of that happened, I had this experience with a Ouija board.
See, I gotta tell you right now,
yeah,
that is the one and only thing that I will never cross paths with. That is just
so. You're gonna hate this.
No, bring it on. That's fine. I didn't have to do it, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, and all my experiences outside of this, like later on, because I didn't know anything about Ouija. So I grew up in a very religious household.
Right.
Okay?
Of course. No, that's what I'm saying.
And
that's why I think this is interesting because
you
had a different experience.
We were told to not, ever mess with any of that stuff.
Sure.
That was a huge deal. And my sisters went over to their friend's house. They were playing with this Ouija board that they like knew they weren't supposed to do, and supposedly they heard this like evil laugh when they were doing it.
Okay.
And they freaked out and they run back to the house. They're crying, and I'm like, "What happened?" And they tell me, and I was like, "Okay, like my first thought was we have to burn this thing."
Okay.
And we go get it. We come back to the house. We're trying to burn it.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of neighborhood kids around, like, witnessing this. We're trying to burn it. I put it in the fire pit. We're pouring gas on it. We're pouring brake parts cleaner.
Right.
Tons of stuff. It won't burn. It won't.
Right.
It won't light. It took like 30 minutes for it to actually start on fire, and then the embers like form into a face, and it like floats away. And that was super terrifying, just in general. And everyone was just freaking out about it. But then after that, like, I was looking up the rules of a Ouija board. After I started, like, when I was in high school, I started like, going out and search and like, started seeking it out.
No, right. Yeah. Getting more background on it, getting more knowledge for it. Yeah.
And I was looking into like the rules of a Ouija board, and that was one of the, and then I saw like how to dispose of a Ouija board, and there's certain ways to do that. Like, you're not, like, you're always supposed to close it out too.
Always, yes.
And what happened was when they ran away, they never closed it out.
Okay.
So they never closed it out, and then I burned it on top of that. And that's one of the top things you're never supposed to do.
Right.
And like, I think it was like there's like one or two things that can happen, supposedly. Like, if you burn it, whatever, like, you'll hear this loud screeching noise and you're supposed to die. And then that didn't happen. Or whatever you were talking to could like attach to you for like the rest of your life. And, so I'm more leaning towards that might have happened.
Which is possible.
Because like, I mean, it's possible. I don't know how long it would even be, if it actually would be attached forever or whatnot. Or even if it was like this crazy thing. Like, who knows if it was like good or bad, or it just depends what you believe in.
Well, no, and I think that's the biggest thing, because the thing that I've learned in all of my time with being sensitive to things like this is that it depends on, the mind is an incredibly powerful thing. And I think that there is 100% availability of the unknown, however that plays out. And I think people are always like, oh, that's bullshit, I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
But it's like, we live in a world where science reigns supreme. And there's still things that are unexplained to this point.
Yeah.
So whether it is, in my evaluation, an echo of something from the past, kind of like you were talking about the guy on the bridge from Britain who had Hollywood connection.
Yeah.
So maybe it's, and I think the hardest part is growing up in Hollywood and watching films and TV shows like we did. We know so much about things between Final Destination or any of the films that, I don't know, The Grudge or whatever.
Final Destination so much.
But that's what I'm saying, like that, but it's specific. It's such a specific way of thinking. And then I don't care who you are, you grow up from 80s, 90s, early 2000s to now in this existence of, I can figure out the perfect crime because I've watched every Netflix doc or whatever. And so when it's this, and you're like, okay, but I can't explain that shit. I just don't know what's going on. And to give, one of my examples recently, there's a beautiful 1898 Queen Anne Victorian home in downtown Santa Ana in Orange County here in Southern California, called the Vogel Victorian. And there is an incredible husband and wife that own it, Diana and Dan, and they literally just bought it a year ago, and they brought it back up. But going into this place, and it's part of Haunted OC, Haunted Orange County, but going in there most recently for My Bloody Valentine, which was a special tea that they have right now. Yeah. And going through, and you start out the process, you're literally putting yourself, kind of like you were saying, into that realm of the unknown. So we start out in the basement, and the lights are out and everything else, and it's amazing. Again, the power of the mind, but then also, because so many people are like, well, what's the power of suggestion? Is that what's happening here? And I'm like, I'm sorry. I've experienced too much-ish. I have seen too much stuff. And just like you said, you don't know what it is. And it's kind of that concept of, did you ever like Josh Wheaton? Do you know, or Joss Wheaton, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like Hellmouth and all that stuff? But then also, if you go over to like Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix, all of these things have some kernel of truth, and we've been learning things as time goes by. To even go back to that with the, the Ouija board, planchettes scare the shit out of me. And my birthday's Halloween. So
nice.
Yeah, I was like, you couldn't get more spooky and haunted and horror related than me. And it's wild because the amount of people who either believe it wholeheartedly or love it as an entertainment angle are like, this is the next step for Hollywood. This is where how many like you said, you want to go down the paranormal route because you want to investigate things that you have experienced and you want to see what's real and what's not. Mm-hmm. You have a legitimate reason for getting into it, for me.
Yeah.
But in the scheme of things, it's also going to be entertaining as fuck because God knows what you're going to encounter out there.
Yeah.
So there's the two sides of the coin that we're always playing now. And growing up in the area of reality television, which is scripted, as we're very well aware, it's amazing to what extent that really plays out in it. So, anyway.
Yeah.
No, I just thanks for attending my TED Talk. I'll get that off my soapbox now.
Yeah.
But no, I just think it's so interesting. And I think the thing that I'm excited about for you and getting to know you better and seeing where you go with things and Maximum Zack is you have this wild background. You have so much more than, a dumbass who's fucking stapling his nutsack to the side of his leg kind of concept. And I say that in the nicest way possible because so much judgment goes into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then we sit down and we have a conversation and it's like, holy shit. Zack is, not to be like everybody with the joke of, the layers of the onions with Shrek, but like, you're deep, dude. You've got a lot of layers. You've got a lot of trauma. You've got a lot of shit. You've got 25 seasons.
Yeah, we're not
of
even at the trauma
Zack.
portion.
Right. I was like, that's for the after hours. That's the extra content.
Yeah.
But
so
I think
be on
that's
the
it.
Patreon.
Yeah. That's the Patreon only content. You're right. No, I don't disagree with it. But I think that's it is so many times. And that's what I love about my role with iHeart over the last year, 2023 and now into 2024. I do a lot of interviews, a lot of things just like this. And I sit down with the most random people who we don't know each other when I walk in the door and have these conversations and have these connection points. Because I think even though the world is really small right now and we can be, you can get your 15 seconds of fame through social media, we don't know anything about each other anymore. We don't sit there. You described exactly my childhood of busting out the camcorder or the VHS tape and filming shit with your friends. We don't have that anymore. If it's not picking up your phone and putting something out there like that, and then we just did it because it entertained us. Mm-hmm. People do it for a purpose now.
Yeah, like YouTube and like posting it all online became like something later for me, definitely. Like it did, like, while I was in high school, it started to be more of a thing. Of course. But there wasn't even, like, tons of websites to do that at that point. Right. It was, like, I remember the first time I started really posting, it was, like, on MySpace, Like,
dude, the MySpace
days were awesome when everyone was just coding. Like,
yeah, no, I was going to say, no, and I think the funnier part is how many people from that era, because now we can even talk about Friendster and, like, everything, like, we're talking about deep cuts now that even the current generation have no idea what we're talking about. Because if it's not run by Meta, and it's not Instagram, or if it's not Twitter, it's not there. And so I think that's it. But, it goes back to, again, you're passionate about things. You want to explore the world. You want to inform other people, even if you're just doing it through humor.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love making people laugh. Like it's one of the most fun things to do, really.
Sure. No, because I think we're too serious anymore.
Yeah,
and
100%.
No, because I think I grew up with the same era that you did, and I grew up with the same crew from Jackass and Steve-O, and what's even more entertaining is Johnny Knoxville, whatever, running into them throughout my last 17 years in entertainment here in LA, and just having a coffee or BSing with them away from a camera is such a different experience. Just like this, you have this amazing larger than life persona that it shows up in film. And, we're both big dudes anyway, too.
Yeah,
so I'm just saying, like,
true.
But I'm saying, like, but there's so much
Not
more.
to point out the obvious.
Right, but that's no. But I'm saying, like, big personalities and big, lifestyle choices aren't necessarily the end all do all.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is, again, the amount of background, how thoughtful you are, how different you think, how you walk into a room in a situation and really assess the what's around you is so important. And I think by taking and grabbing life by the balls and doing something like this, it's a perfect thing. And I think because it gives you that avenue, it gives you that opportunity to really get out there and, connect with the audience. And really not just say, hey, I've got a platform. Hey, I want to do blah, 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 blah. Hey, I'm funny. Because like you said, you enjoy humor. It's one of your favorite things. It's something that you love doing. It's something that you love connecting with people. It gives you, not to be like Marie Kondo, but it brings you joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part because we put ourselves out there in very, very public settings, be it slapstick when you did Jackass to now having a genuine conversation about the random time. And I'm sure you can feel that hand on your back now talking about it. And being able to communicate that. And I think the other thing that I've learned in my time with broadcasting is so many, and then not to say Me Too, like the Me Too movement, but there's so many people on the other side of that lens that are able to say, me too. I've had that experience.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. And that amount of validation that they're getting from it, not to go sappy on it, but you're really benefiting people through laughter and smiles, but also through being open and genuine and being vulnerable. And I think that's the biggest thing. We put ourselves in these rooms with cameras and microphones and we just let the shit fly and how it lands. And I think that this is when, you know, I come from the era, but of Real World, when, you know, it was, you know, 8 strangers in a house to see what happens when there's no script. And even that first season, they had, you know, bullet points of a script, and then progressively it's gotten different. But like, this is the opportunity for people to really get out there and get to know you and get to know things about the world, because you, again, are connecting with people. You're putting yourself out there and you're doing a fantastic job of being able to be that next form of entertainment, you know, because there's nothing that says you can't be funny and, you know, have a heart.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it works better for you to also have a heart.
No, if you, I mean, shit, if you don't have a heart, like that's an absolute waste. But what does the rest of this year, like, I don't know, give me a lowdown. What's the plan for 2024? Because really, we're in February. We're barely getting into it now. Yeah. What are kind of your like short-term goals for the next year?
So for this year, I mean, I want to do a lot of paranormal investigation stuff. I want to keep touring with stand-up. I'm also started this health journey. I'm just trying to get healthy. Just like it's, I don't know. I just really want to get healthy.
But I think, okay, so let's not to delve into that real quick, but I do want to talk about that because I also am doing the healthy thing.
Yeah.
So many times, especially in entertainment, and we grow up in this world where you have an ideal and you have an aesthetic that you're encouraged to get toward.
Yeah.
Boys like us are big. We're big boned. We've got every possible nice like reference point. Yeah. But the point is, now I'm at a point where, just like you said, I want to be healthy.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you? Are you changing your diet? Are you like, because I mean, granted, we're not dieting per se. We're changing our lifestyle. So what's that like for you?
It's just been a lot of change, you know. I've been changing my diet. I've been working out a lot. I've been doing a lot of cardio. Just like getting in motion in general, because it got to the point for me where it was just so like non-existent in my life that it became difficult just to do normal things. And I started noticing it more, you know, like after it's like, oh, like having to walk really far is kind of annoying. But now it's like, it got to a point where it was just like, dude, this is horrible. Like, you know, I can't do this. Like, I can't keep going on like that, you know. And I think that just, you know, ends up affecting, because I mean, I don't think it does end up affecting me, because it's like I'm like choosing like ways to go around that, you know.
No, dude, I get it.
So I just want to like not do that, you know. I want to be able to go and like just like, oh, we're gonna go on a walk, or like we're gonna park. Just like tons of things. I just want to make my life easier in that regard.
And that makes sense. And I think that there's so many of us, and especially with having had the pandemic and going to endemic. And having, you know, wherever you fall on the side of the coin is not important. Yeah. But there was enough lifestyle change for all of us, no matter if you were that crazy health nut or not.
Yeah.
And it's trying to regain a certain semblance, because there's no reason to try to regain what we had. But there is a point in moving forward to figuring out what's the next thing. Again, we're looking to get healthy. I don't want to get fucking yoked. That's not my body type. I'm not going to be that person. I like food too much, but there's nothing wrong with me doing that cardio, closing my rings. I don't have a freaking watch, but you know, like that whole reference point. It's a good opportunity. And I think that's a huge thing, that it's like a cruise ship.
Yeah.
Trying to change that path
yeah,
is nuts, and you need a few tugboats to help push it through. So
yeah, and it would be like awesome for me to be able to like go shop at like a normal store to buy clothes. Like, cause it's like, dude, I have to go to like a big and tall store right now, and I'm not tall. I'm just the big.
No,
short,
dude,
like, you know what I mean? There isn't just a big store. They don't make the short.
No, I get it.
Like the big and short store. There's not like a lot of it.
The short and wide store. No,
Yeah,
dude, I get it. Totally get it. So, which is fine. And it also, you're a young, good-looking guy. It limits your options.
Yeah.
Because you're not a Tommy Bahama kind of, you know.
It's like either
Hawaiian
that
shirt guy,
or
yeah.
I'm wearing polo. Everything's expensive, dude.
It's really freaking expensive.
It's so expensive.
No, dude, I get it. Like, I mean,
I just have to wear just tracksuits like all the time. Like,
do you have chest hair? Can we?
No, I don't. I barely do. A little bit.
We not gonna get the chin. We gotta get the chin to go down and connect. Because then, if you've got that tracksuit, we got a whole different persona that we can do with.
Oh man, that's true.
I mean, I'm just trying to build characters here. I think that I can't even imagine if I were like in the ice house in Pasadena and you rolled out in your tracksuit with God knows, like, you know, a little carpet coming up, what that would even be like. So, but I mean, I think that's it. But going to that, even on my side of the coin, I can't even go into a freaking Target.
Yeah.
Because I'm at a 42 waist and I'm at a solid 2X.
Yeah.
No Targets. I had to order everything.
Yeah.
And I think
especially Targets out here.
No, right. No, exactly. Because
if you're in like middle America, they will have options sometimes.
All you have to do is go to the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
It will save you. And I only say that because that's where I have to go. Like, I literally order the stuff on Target, do my drive up, you know, hide in my shame as I'm picking up my Target order. But that's it. And I think that's the funniest part is, you know, getting healthy really helps that. And it's, you know, because I mean, chasing that ideal. And from my side of the coin, being in the queer world, like, God knows, you know, gay guys are the most shallow as they come. And so trying to navigate all of that is even weirder. Granted, I'm married, so, you know, but I'm not dead. Like, because I'm married doesn't mean suddenly, I can just kick back and relax and not have to worry about. No, like we've talked about for the last, you know, 10 minutes, it's about health and getting there. So then, outside of the healthy journey, what are you looking to do this year?
Outside of that, I mean, mainly just like health, stand up, try to like, you know, I want to figure out like what my next like bigger projects are. I mean, I've been working on some I've made some pilots for stuff, so hopefully get that stuff out there, figure out some, I don't know, I want to try to just like, I just want to be like auditioning for stuff too and just see what happens in that, and then just continue podcasting. I've been making a lot of silly songs. I want to make a silly song album.
Okay. Like all a Weird Al kind of style? Or?
Yeah, a lot of it right now is just a lot of parodies. I've been doing some original like silly songs too.
Okay. So not just covers, but actually original content.
Yeah, so a bunch of that stuff, but that's been really fun. Also with the stand-up stuff, like once I have like a bunch right now. I have like one thing like every month for like I haven't got it booked too far yet, but it's gonna be like more. No,
but I think that's fine. And you doing the baby. Do you ever do open mics? Just randomly show up and do stuff? Yeah, I'm going to an open mic right after this. Okay, that's good.
So the thing is, it's weird for me with stand up. I got asked to do a stand up show randomly after Jackass came out.
Okay,
but they asked me to do stunts there, and I went there. But the thing was,
what the hell does that even look like?
Keep going. So they wanted me to do stunts during the set, and then they were like the last, like pretty much like a couple days before, they're like, hey, like we can't have you do the stunts. Do you still want to do it and just do stand up?
Okay.
And I was like, sure, because like I'd always wanted to actually go out and try doing stand up, but I never did. Mm-hmm. And so then I went and did stand up, and it went well. And then they asked me to come back the next night, and I fucking bombed really bad, which was needed to happen.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Did you have a set planned, or did you just
okay,
you did have
I had a set planned.
Okay.
I actually been writing, like I had like notes for like the last like few years of just jokes that I would potentially do if I ever decided to do it.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so I just, then that, so I got into a lot of stand-up opportunities because of Jackass. So I really have to do way more open mics now because I need, like, I don't know, you're supposed to be going up almost like every night anyways. So
right.
it's just like I feel like there's just a lot to catch up. Like
there's a lot, but
because I'm getting opportunities though that like probably wouldn't be given to me if I didn't have some other credit, you know?
No.
So it's just like I have to. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a weird spot where it's just like I have to like really make sure I'm like doing as much as I can.
I think it's great, and don't inundate yourself, but I think you really are, without spreading yourself too thin. It sounds like you really are kind of putting it out there, and it's not to kind of go to the supernatural like we already talked about, but kind of that manifestation.
Yeah.
You know, putting it out in the universe and making it happen for yourself is great. And then I think too, with you probably are like me when you do, because I MC more stand-up shows than anything. Yeah. Crowd work is the easiest.
Yeah.
And that seems to be where everybody cares about, because every Netflix special and every Amazon Prime special is all crowd work.
Yeah. That's and like I had like when I first started going up, I wasn't doing any, and I started doing that now. So I'm like learning that. And,
that's fine. You go and you read a room just like this. I'm the easiest one. One-on-one can either be the best or the most terrifying. So, but yeah.
Here at Maximum Zach, I always ask the guest, like, what do you do in your life to make sure you're always like being your maximum self?
That's a great question. That's a very good, deep question. And I think it's a nice open-ended question. To give you the answer, and it's funny, even if we're, going back to the beginning of the interview when you were asking about interview techniques, specific to that, by me meandering around and giving you a response, I'm buying myself time to figure out what my response is going to be to you by filling time that still has some value.
Yeah.
But the way that I have learned in my 42 years on this planet to live my maximum Nick existence is I spent too much time caring about what other people thought. Mm-hmm. And I still have to fight that every day. And being able to push against that and know that I have value and that I have something to say, and there are people here and there are people here that are going to relate to what I'm talking about, even if I never meet them. Mm-hmm. And I know I only say that because so much of my waking hours is spent in media, talking to radio personalities, talking to actors, musicians, traveling all over and doing things that really have some heavy involvement. Politics even now as we're coming up with the election cycle again.
Yeah.
So for me, it is at the end of the day, living my maximum Nickness is looking at my day and knowing that I went out there and gave it the damnedest best I could. And I am proud of who I am at the end of the day, even if I didn't do shit that day.
Yeah.
Even if I just watched porn and jerked off. And I say that for the laugh. But I also say that very genuinely. There are many times that we take ourselves to task way too strongly for no freaking reason. And that for me is really important, that I have to look at, because it's super easy in our world of entertainment to get imposter syndrome. Yeah. It is super easy to say, nobody cares what I have to say. Mm-hmm. You also don't want to be a dick and be the other side of the coin and be like, of course I have the best, whatever. Yeah. So I think that's it, is living my maximum life is really being proud of myself and what I put out each day, and not to use like a catchphrase or a cliche, a buzzword, but like live authentically, be yourself. And sometimes that looks great and sometimes it looks kind of shitty. But at the end of the day, you were honest, you were there, you were present. And I think that's my biggest thing for me, and even encouraging other people to live their maximum selves.
Oh yeah, I really relate to that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on,
dude. Thanks for having me on. This has been great. Like I've loved this, not really knowing each other, and now I feel like it's time to go do whatever. I mean, if we're here we are in the valley, God knows we could go do porn over in Simi, or we could go to a comedy club, or we could I could take you over to the iHeart Studios. Any of these things are possible. But this has been amazing, dude. This really has been, and I hope our time together has kind of given you that opportunity, because I think even in the time briefly that we've spent together, I've seen, I've seen in the hour or so that we've been together, you've changed who you are and how you look at things and how you open up. And I think that that's my biggest thing, is this has been great. Like, talking about the maximumness of it all. Yeah. You've been maximum Zach. I've been maximum Nick. And it's been a great opportunity to like really push and change and be something special.
Oh yeah. No, I've had a great time having you here. This has been awesome.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it.
Is there anything you want to plug?
Yeah. So I over 2023 and now moving into 2024, I have This Week I'm with Nick Pagliochini, which is the podcast. And that is specific to Southern California, but it also is involving a lot more. So in 2023, you could catch it live on the radio. In 2024, it's specifically a podcast, but it includes interviews just like this, sitting down and talking to movers and shakers in Southern California and beyond, but also focusing on what you can do in and around the Southland this weekend. Also, already have gone to Mexico now and done stuff with Los Cabos and partnering with their tourism board and other things. So there's a huge opportunity there. So I think if you are looking to connect, Nick Pagliochini, which is really hard to figure out, but probably in the show notes. But This Weekend with Nick on Instagram is an easy way to get a hold of me. ThisWeekendWithNick.com is also where you can get all the content that I've got going on out there. And then you can also catch me Monday through Friday here in Los Angeles on Coast 103.5 for the Alan K Morning Show from 5 to 10, and also on KFI AM 640 for for Wake Up Call from 5 to 6. 6 to 9 is going to be the Bill Handel Morning Show, and then the Gary and Shannon Show from 9 until 1.
Oh, yeah. Make sure you check all that out, and stay maximum.